I read this report last week from the Circuit Attorney's Office on the shooting death of Mansur Ball-Bey. I decided to come to the Walton Avenue area where Mansur was killed by the police. The reason the police were here to begin with was they were conducting a drug gun raid on the house right there, 1241 Walton Avenue. The two police officers and an ATF officer were behind this store mistakenly. They thought this was the house where the raid was going to take place. They saw two people run from that door. The ATF officer says that he saw their faces and that was all. Saw two people run but saw their faces, that was it. And Officer A, the Special Operations Officer from St. Louis Police, pushed him down as he turned to run out toward the alley. Officer B was in the alley at the time, and Officer A yells to him, "There's a runner." The ATF officer never saw any of the events after he got pushed down until much later. So they run into the Officer B is ahead of Officer A, and they run this direction. Officer B, who was in the alley to begin with, very close to the alley to begin with, turned when he saw the runners and said he saw the two young men jump the fence. So the officer, you can see where the Officer B had to be at the very least right here when he saw him jump the fence. This is the second week in June 2016. The shooting occurred August of 2015. So we can assume that the foliage, the plant life and so on, trees, would be at least this heavy, if not heavier. So by seeing him jump the fence, he'd be somewhere right around here. There was a witness standing on the chain link fence, on the other side of the chain link fence. Now what that person was doing there, I don't know. It happened to be an off-duty police officer. According to the CAO report, someone yelled, "Gun, gun, gun." My guess is that it was probably that witness, because that at this point, Officer B says he saw a gun in Mansur's waist belt, and he wanted to be careful not to get it. According to witness B, Officer B, he didn't want to confront him head on, so he stayed off to the side and waited until he jumped. The two young men went through this opening in the gate here and saw him run around this corner. Officer B was ahead of Officer A at this point, and Officer B said he wanted to be careful. He was worried there was a presence of a gun, so he gradually went around this corner. Now, the idea that Mansur was running, and by all accounts he was running, he would have to be well within the yard if Officer A and Officer B were being careful. It only takes a couple of seconds for a lot of yardage to be created between the two officers and Mansur Ball-Bey. So according to Officer A, Officer B must have gone into the parking pad. Officer A was taking cover, according to him, behind this telephone pole. When he turned and looked, he said he saw Mansur raise his gun. Now that we know from the shell casing, which is right there, I put this piece of paper down to show where the shell, it's pretty close to what was in the picture in the report, where the shell casing was. And 4 feet, 1, 2, 3, 4 feet from the shell casing was where he shot. The shell casings are going to eject to the right and back. So this is the approximate point at which Officer A shot the gun. Officer B had to be, because his shell casings were here, 3 shell casings here, here, and here. They were nearly, just a matter of a couple of feet apart. One officer claimed he did not hear the other shoot. All three of Officer B's shots missed. So standing right here, he shot Mansur. What he claims was he pointed his gun back at Officer B, and Officer A thought he was going to shoot Officer B. He said he was 15 to 20 feet away from Mansur. Officer A said he was 15 to 20 feet away from Mansur. So that is approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's saying he turned Mansur, standing here, turns in this direction to what Officer A thought was fire his gun. Okay, so this is why I came here, and this is the problem I have. Officer A said he shot, when he shot, the gun that was in Mansur's hand flew from his hand, and Mansur continued to run. And that's where Officer B said he stopped shooting when he saw the gun fly from his hand. The problem is Officer B's last shot would have occurred about right here, literally a foot or two away from where Mansur would have been standing according to their testimony. But the big problem is that it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 steps where the gun was found. This is the exact look. If you look in the report, you'll see the photo that was taken of where the gun was found. In other words, they're saying the gun flew over Officer B's head in a direction contrary to the momentum that Mansur was running and the momentum of the bullet that killed him. This doesn't make sense to me at all. And it calls into question every piece of this witness, the two officer witnesses, and also witness 2, who was behind, the off-duty police officer who was behind this chain link fence. And again, I'm not sure what would have caused the off-duty police officer to be behind the fence.